All right, guys, welcome back, League of Inches. And once again, first of all, I want to shout out to all the fans getting behind pages just continually growing, starting to become pretty mind-boggling how much support we actually are starting to receive. So thank you to everyone. There's been a lot of past players come out since my interview with my dad, which you've probably seen the other day, and people want to jump on board. So there's a lot of good content coming. But this one, we've got the Titans season preview, which we've been kind enough. Quick shout out to the Titans Frontline Instagram page, which is, I believe, the official sort of supporters page for the Gold Coast Titans. And I sent them a message a week or so ago, and they jumped at it and helped me pick someone who they thought would be good at having a chat to me about the Titans season ahead, and kind enough to donate Harrison's time, which I really appreciate. So quick shout out to them, and if you're not following them yet, please do so. Even just a fan of the game, we all are pretty excited about the Titans this year, and I think it'd be a good page to follow. They do some really, really good content and a great bunch of blokes. So, Harrison, welcome to the page. Thanks for jumping on. Let us know.
Thanks for having me.
Give us a bit of a rundown. How long have you been a Titans fan for, and what made you a Titans fan?
So I've been a Titans fan since they started. My dad and I were inaugural members since 2007. And when C-Bus opened, we've sat in the same seats pretty much since then.
Wow.
It's been pretty crazy. Just growing up on the Gold Coast, like having an NRL team to follow, sort of how I got into it. And Dad being a St George fan, it was a couple of sad years in the middle, so he was keen to jump on the Titans. And he was working for Jetstar, which were one of the original major sponsors, so that sort of helped him jump on as well.
Brilliant. Look, I did mention this before. A lot of fans, not just of the Titans, but of the game, are very excited of the Titans this year, and good reasons for that. And we'll jump straight into it, which would be obviously the signings. There's a number of them, but I'm trying to ask you to narrow it down to one for me. Who's your best signing for this year?
Probably going to, everyone probably thinks it's going to be the obvious one, Dave Fafita, but for me, I reckon the best signing's Tino by far. The fact that they signed him a year in advance, not on a contract that you'd probably be expecting him to get. Like, if you signed at the end of last season, you'd be expecting more money, in my opinion. And I feel like that Origin series last year, he really proved himself that he can be that go-to forward and play alongside really good forwards, so he's definitely, I reckon, my best signing for the 2021 season.
I think you're spot on with that. And I think for once in probably the Titans' history, I think it's fair to say they've actually haven't paid overs for a player. They've probably paid unders, which
100%.
As you said, before the season of 2020, when you did sign him, people knew about him. They thought he was going to be good, but I don't think anyone realised just how good he was. And I know a lot of people have come out, fans that I've seen have said something about the Cameron Smith factor, but I think he showed in Origin as well without Cameron Smith there that he's just a freak of a player. And look, you did mention it. I did mention it, that David Fafita. I think it's hard to go past. For mine, he's the best, if not one of the best second rowers in the game, and he's still a kid. Both these players are still kids, and that's the most exciting part. I heard an interview yesterday. I listen to quite a few podcasts now, and I think it was Regan Campbell-Gillard said for a forward, their peak for their careers is about 28, 29, 30. So if you think about that, and these kids are in their early 20s, there's a lot of good years ahead for Titans fans, and this forward pack looks phenomenal. So exciting times
100%.
Exciting times ahead for you guys. What about your biggest loss? I know there's been a few signings, but there was a few losses. I think it's fair to say they were more clean-up sort of players to just sort of clean up the roster. Who would be your biggest loss?
Jai Arrow, without a doubt for me, Jai Arrow is the biggest loss. Performance-wise, it would be him. But as like a sort of club culture, I would say Ryan James. Like, he's been pretty much the heart and soul of that club. Played under 20s, went to PBC, played local junior. But it is disappointing that we've lost those two fellas. I can't split them. But that's just what happens. That's the NRL.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. Exactly the two players that I had written down for the exact same reason. I think Arrow for on the field, but Ryan James, a lot of people, and I did a post about him a couple of days ago with the Raiders and being a sort of a forgotten man at the moment. But before he got his injuries, he was probably one of the best forwards in the comp, especially a front rower. And he was one of the first to be playing the big minutes, and he was on a Supercoach perspective, was a massive Supercoach god. I think everyone had him in their teams at some point, and his culture,
100%.
and he was Gold Coast through and through. And I was very surprised that he did leave. I think obviously his injuries and that, it's probably good for him just to get a freshen up. Probably need that with the back end of his career. But I do think for a culture thing, as you said, it might be a little bit of a loss there for the club.
100%. And so, like a lot of people don't remember, he's missed pretty much the last two seasons with an ACL injury. But what, 2 years or a year before that, or 2 years before that, he led the league in forwards try scorers.
Yeah.
And the Titans in the amount of tries scored. So he's got the skill to be that premier forward. He's just had an unlucky 2 years.
Oh, 100%. I agree. I'm a massive fan of him, and I think the Raiders got a great purchase there because they would have probably got him on the cheap as well with the injury runs. But
oh, definitely.
What about your key reason for success? There's obviously quite a big build-up for the club this year, and there's many reasons why, I believe. But can you pinpoint one or maybe two reasons why you can sit there as a fan and go, you know what, I do think 2021 is going to be a really good year for us?
I got two. Like you said, I couldn't get to one.
Yeah.
I feel like the people that at the helm of the club is probably one of the best since the starting couple of years. We had that final run, like Steve Mitchell, CEO? He's definitely the great person to have in charge. Mal and Justin Holbrook, how can you not like him? What he managed to turn a team that came the year before last to that epic run in the last year. And you can just tell, even just watching the games, that the mood is different around the club. And the other thing for me is the fact that they're buying back into the local area in junior rugby league. Like, they've sponsored all the Northern Rivers rep sides. They're all now called the Titans. They've partnered with Keebra, PBC, and I think Marsden in Brisbane. So we've lost all those players to Brisbane, like when we had to buy Dave Fafita back and Payne Haas. But now that they're buying into these local schools, it's going to be great that we're going to have all these juniors pumping through. And yeah.
It's interesting you're talking about it. It's a little bit of an off topic, but I think as a league fan myself, I'm not a fan of obviously either of any of the Queensland clubs, but I can see it happening that if Gold Coast play it right, and they are making the right steps here, and obviously Brisbane have all the money and that's their big go-to factor, but they've lost a lot in the last year and a half as a club, and I think the Titans are really gaining. And we can't forget the Cowboys and the new team that's no doubt probably arriving in the next few years, but the Titans have a really good chance here to grab this state as a whole, and I think we'll have a lot of people jump on board as Gold Coast fans. And for mine, the key reason, you did mention it, I've got two as well. I said the coach, Holbrook. I love what he's doing with the club, and I know a little bit more about his history in terms of back in coaching Super League and how much he built the club up where he was coaching at, and he's got a really good history of doing that wherever he goes. And it's exactly what's happening now with the Titans. He's doing exactly the same as what he's already done, and he's got a good track record for it. The other one 100%. Is the halves pairing for mine, Fogarty and Taylor. I did a post this morning about Taylor, and for mine, Fogarty has helped him so much in his game. It's only a benefit for your club as a whole, because Taylor's always had the pressure and the expectation of having a big money deal. Now, I'm going into that on the Monday video once again, but that's necessarily probably onto the club's thing for giving him so much money and putting into promising youth, which everyone knew he was going to be a good player. But Fogarty's come in and taken the load off him to just play footy, which I think that suits Ash Taylor down to the ground.
100%. I 100% agree with that. And he just, when you look at him play, he just seems like a more confident player. Like, everything about him, he's got that sort of swagger back that he had a couple of years ago before that big money contract, that he just seems confident and playing off like such a leader and like mover around the field in Jamal Fogarty. It's just, 100% they complement each other.
I could not agree more. Now, there's a lot of positives. There's got to be something there not every team goes in the year going, "Yet we've won this for sure." If there was, there'd be no such thing as a competition. So, where's something you sit back as a fan and you bite your fingernails a bit and go, "Oh, I don't know about this one."
Living up to the hype for me. Like, everyone's excited. Like, I'm excited. The Gold Coast is excited about this season coming up. Whether we can produce it or flop, that's where I'm really concerned. The other one for me is the Origin period. If they are going good, how many players are we going to lose at Origin time? And that mammoth stretch through the middle of the season where people are starting to get hurt a bit more and it's a lot colder. So that's another concern for me.
Yeah, I think it's a big one you point out. The first point is that as a club, and I know this from a Para fan where we had some pretty dark years recently, and it takes a long time to get a club out of that mentality of, you know what, we're going to turn up, we're going to lose, we're going to get paid, and you know what, I could not really care. And for a point there, I think it's fair to say you did have a group of players there that sort of had that mentality. It was yeah, I know we're pretty well off in terms of talent here. Let's just get through what we can do and keep the sponsors happy and do the 80 minutes and get off and go in hiding for probably the week. But Holbrook's done such a big job, and I don't think coaches get enough credit for this and don't get enough time, is that he's built this now to players where they want to win and they know they can win. Titan, we've seen it mid-year. Last year, I think people forget, the start of last year, you didn't start off too good as a club. You still were struggling. No. There was, I think, Para beat you by a bit, and there was a couple of other teams. But then there was that switch around, and towards the end of the year, you won, 5 from 6 at the end, and the players are now coming
something like that.
Yeah, the players are coming in this year going, you know what, we've got a real chance here for at least a top 8, because I don't remember the last year the Titans had where they actually went into a season being favoured to make the 8 rather than being favoured to make the spoon. So it's a different mentality.
You're looking at 10 plus years ago, I reckon, for that.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. So that was back with the Prince and Preston Campbell days and things like that. The other thing I'll mention, just with a lot of signings, sometimes you'll see a club, they sign a lot of players and it takes a little bit of time to gel. I think fans do need to be expecting that little bit of a period, especially at the start, just to have that gel period. You can train as much as you want and do as many trial games as you want, but there's nothing compares to playing NRL footy and actually being out there each week and playing at that level. And the game's just getting faster and better every year. We keep saying it, we keep believing it can't, but it can. That expectation from the fans' point of view of having, you know what, we do have some players in. I think it helps having pretty much the same spine, which will help you guys this year. But there is some new players coming in to let them have that time to just gel.
Definitely, 100%. Definitely agree. And it's going. I reckon it'll take a few rounds for especially the forward pack to gel and start playing off each other to their full potential. But I feel like if they can get that in the first couple of rounds, then the sky's really the limit for what they can do.
Yeah, and people talk about premiership windows, and I think for the Titans, it's fair to say they'd sit back, Mal and the directors and the CEO and things like that, and the coach, they'd probably have, this year wouldn't be the premiership window year. It would be a year to build up to probably say year 2022, 2023, with most of these younger players having signed for longer term deals. So I think it's fair to say this year it's about getting more wins and losses in the year and continuing that mentality of winning games, but also being able to get into that premiership window.
Yeah, 100%. And people say you can buy a premiership, but you can't buy a premiership in one season. It's got to start somewhere. And I feel like they've got a good base. And even if they just make the 8 this year, I'm happy. Yeah. But like you said, I feel like the premiership window will probably be the years that are following on from this season.
Yeah, 100%. And the buzz will just keep building. And once you get that and the money coming from that with the sponsors and things like that, that's when the real hype will start. So what about your final thoughts? Being a Titans fan, I know it's some very positives coming into this year, but what's your final thoughts on the season and where do you think you'll finish?
I think we'll go all right. I think that everything will sort of gel. We'll win a lot. I think we'll win a lot of games, looking at the draw, and probably a lot closer than some would imagine. Like a lot of people that I've talked to think that we're going to blow everyone off the park every week, but I feel like we'll definitely finish in the 8. Probably 6 would be the ceiling, in my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be a good year. A lot of excitement. Hopefully, we can get a packed Seabus Stadium, get it rocking again. It'll be good.
I love watching games. I'm a Gold Coast boy myself, and I go there as much as I can. I love the stadium, and I think the final thoughts would be for myself is that the club is into now a part of it hasn't been in for, as you said, probably 10 years, where come Origin time, there's going to be probably 5 or 6 players in the Origin series, and we've seen how players come back from it. It's going to go back to a mid-year series, which is probably a good thing, but for players, we've seen them burn out towards the back half of the year, whoever features in that. But some other players have actually gone on and been better from Origin. So it'd be interesting to see how these players, especially the younger ones, deal with it, who have gone through their first Origin series, things like that. I just think it's going to be a positive year. I see a back half of the top 8 finish for you guys, so probably a 6th, 7th, 8th finish. And it's a real building block, and I think it's something that the Titans fans and members can really jump on board. And as I said, if you live in the local area, go to a few games, even if you're not a Titans fan, because I think it's going to be a really good brand of footy you guys play.
100%. And like even at the back end of last year, you could tell the excitement was building. Like that Knights game, I can't remember the last time that I heard our home fans be louder than the opposition fans at Seabus. It was just a great thing to see.
I think you don't know about this, but a couple of years' time, there might be a letter sent to the state government to up the stadium capacity there, because if these years continue to get better and better, you might be needing some more seats there. But Harrison, look, I really appreciate you jumping on. It's you're obviously a very passionate fan. You know a lot about the club, which is always good to hear. And what we're about is on this page is getting the fans' opinions and things like that. So I wish nothing but success for your club this year, and it'd be great to get you back on throughout the year to have a bit more of a chat about the Titans and maybe get a mid-year review and things like that happening with you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It's been fun. It's been awesome.
I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I know you got to go get ready for work soon, so go have your rest. And thank you once again for jumping on.
No worries. Thanks for having me again. It's been
Cheers,
great.
mate.